Every age in history has had stupidity about what is work and what is not work. Our age is the most stupid of all.
We're using digital technology to reinforce the same extractive, automating biases of industrialism, only we're doing it on digital steroids.
One of the extraordinary things to emerge from the coronavirus pandemic is that it's shown us how our working lives were not enhancing life, but suppressing the people we wanted to be.
Where we find ourselves right now is we have climate breakdown, we have automation, and we have an aging society. We are being forced to rethink our whole value system.
Very few people lie on their deathbed and say, I wish I'd spent more time in the office.
For 150 years, economists have been dreaming of this vision of how we will become so productive eventually that we'll only need to work 10, 15 hours a week in order to acquire the things that we need to live well. And that vision has never come true.
If we go right back to our hunter-gatherer past, you will find that we worked 2 hours, 3 hours a day, and it wasn't even work. We did things which kept us alive for 2 or 3 hours a day, but those things were part of our cultural life. We probably loved them. We probably really enjoyed hunting and gathering. I mean, after all, that's what people do when they have free time and money. You know, the rich people go hunting and gathering.
In 1217, in November the 5th, 2 constitutional charters were sealed in St. Paul's by a 10-year-old king. One was the Magna Carta, one was the Charter of the Forest. And the Charter of the Forest was the first environmental charter. It was the first charter to demand everybody had a right to subsistence, and everybody had a right to access raw materials to enable them to work. And it was a very subversive piece of legislation, and it said, these rights shall be forever.
The idea that people would be debarred from accessing the resources they need to live and thrive was completely unthinkable at the time, around the world. That changed really dramatically in the centuries following, as the right to habitation was broken down. The Charter of the Forest was systematically violated through a process that we now know as enclosure, which was basically a process that acted over a number of centuries to dispossess people from the lands that they had traditionally inhabited. That land was enclosed, effectively privatized, by wealthy elites, by nobles, by landlords, because people were unwilling to leave their own subsistence farming patterns and go do backbreaking labor for very small wages on somebody else's farm. It just didn't make any sense for them. They'd much rather continue to live their existing lifestyle. For the first time in history, people had no access to the means that they needed to survive. The only way they could survive was by selling their bodies, their labor, for wages.